In the quiet heat of a Phoenix morning just after sunrise, an old ceiling fan creaked in slow circles above a worn-out armchair. The house was small, pale yellow stucco, a cracked driveway, and a potted cactus by the front door that hadn't been watered in weeks. Inside, a woman sat with a cup of tea gone cold, staring out the window at the empty street. She wasn't waiting for anyone. She hadn't been in a long time. She was 78, though she didn't feel it in the way people expected. Her body moved slower, yes, and her knees ached when the weather changed. But it wasn't her age that weighed on her. It was the silence. Not the kind of silence that comes from being alone in a room, but the deeper kind. The silence of not being needed, not being seen, not having a reason to pick up the phone anymore. Her husband had passed 2 winters ago. A quiet man, gentle with his hands, who used to fix the toaster with a butter knife and hum old songs while watering the garden. After he was gone, the house didn't just feel empty. It felt like it was holding its breath. Their children lived far away, one in Colorado, the other in Oregon. They called every Sunday, cheerful voices crackling through the landline asking how she was, telling her about the kids, the weather, work. She always said, "I'm fine," because it was easier than explaining the truth. That fine meant eating dinner in front of the TV just to fill the room with noise, or forgetting why she walked into the kitchen 3 times in an hour. She had a flip phone, black, sturdy, with big buttons. It sat on the coffee table, rarely ringing. She didn't own a computer, didn't know how to use one really. Once her grandson tried to show her how to send an email, but the screen was too bright, the words too small, and she panicked when a pop-up asked for her password. "I don't want to break it," she'd said, pushing it back toward him. He smiled kindly, but she saw the flicker of disappointment in his eyes. After that, no one brought it up again. Out in the world, everything was changing fast. Bills came by email. Doctor appointments needed to be booked online. Even the grocery store had those self-checkout machines that beeped impatiently if you didn't scan your items fast enough. She stuck to cash, to in-person lines, to handwritten lists. But each trip out felt harder, not because of her legs, but because she felt like a ghost walking through a world that no longer spoke her language. She wasn't alone in this. Across the country, millions of people her age were in the same boat. According to recent studies, fewer than 1 in 100 seniors over 75 had taken any real step to learn digital skills. Things like using video calls, recognizing online scams, or navigating government websites. Most weren't stubborn or unwilling. They were just scared of clicking the wrong thing, scared of losing money, scared of looking foolish in front of younger people who seemed to type with their eyes closed. And so they stayed offline, not by choice but by quiet surrender. She didn't know it, but that made her part of a growing crisis, one that wasn't talked about much. Doctors called it digital isolation. It wasn't just about missing memes or not knowing what a TikTok was. It was about missing flu shots because the clinic only sent reminders by text. It was about loneliness deepening because family photos lived only in cloud albums she couldn't access. It was about feeling invisible in a world that assumed everyone was connected. Some days, she'd sit at the kitchen table and flip through old photo albums, glossy prints from the 80s. Birthdays, beach trips, her husband grinning in a Hawaiian shirt. Back then, connection was simple. You showed up, you hugged, you shared a meal. Now everything felt distant, filtered through screens and passwords and apps with names that sounded like robot sneezes. She missed her husband most in the evenings. That's when the house felt the heaviest. She'd turn on the local news, not because she cared about the headlines, but because hearing another human voice, even a stranger's, made the walls feel less close. Sometimes she'd talk to the cat, a stray she'd taken in last summer. "You're my only dinner guest," she'd say, setting out a small bowl of tuna beside her plate. The cat would blink slowly as if to say, "I understand." One afternoon, a letter came in the mail. Thick paper, official looking. She opened it carefully, squinting at the small print. It was from Social Security, something about updating her information online. There was a website listed, a phone number, and a note that said, "For faster service, please use our digital portal." She read it 3 times. Then she set it on the counter and made herself a peanut butter sandwich. She wouldn't call the number. She knew from past experience that the hold music would play for 20 minutes. And when someone finally answered, they'd speak too fast, use words like portal and verification code, and she'd end up more confused than before. So she filed the letter away in a shoebox labeled important, next to her husband's watch. Her wedding ring, too loose now, and a dried-up birthday card from her granddaughter. She didn't realize it yet, but she was standing right at the edge of something. Not a cliff, more like a doorway. Most people her age never walked through it. Less than 1%, in fact. But soon someone would knock, not loudly. Not with fanfare, just a soft tap, the kind easy to miss if you weren't listening. And this time she might just answer. Because deep down, beneath the fear and the routine and the cold tea, she still wanted to belong. She still wanted to see her granddaughter's face without waiting for a printed photo in the mail. She still wanted to feel useful, not forgotten. She just didn't know how to start. But sometimes all it takes is one small step, guided by someone who believes you can take it, even if you don't believe it yourself yet. A few weeks after that Social Security letter arrived, a car pulled into the driveway on a Saturday morning. Unusual, since no one ever visited without calling first. The woman peered through the blinds, heart thumping just a little. But then she saw the familiar shape stepping out. Her granddaughter wearing jeans and a bright yellow backpack, waving before even reaching the door. She opened it before the knock came. "You're early," she said, trying to sound stern but failing. Her voice cracked with relief. "I know," the young woman said, hugging her tight. "Traffic was light, and I missed you." They sat at the kitchen table with glasses of iced tea, the ice clinking softly. The granddaughter didn't rush. She asked about the cactus, about the neighbor's dog, about whether the old radio in the living room still worked. Small things, safe things. But then, after a quiet pause, she reached into her backpack and pulled out a slim silver tablet. "I've been thinking about you," she said gently. "And I joined this new program at the community center. It's for people like you, people who want to learn how to use stuff like this but don't know where to start." The older woman stiffened slightly. "Oh, honey, I told you I'm not good with those things. Last time I nearly broke your laptop just by looking at it." "You didn't break anything," her granddaughter said, smiling. "And this isn't about being good, it's about trying. Just a little." She explained that the program was called Bridging Generations. It paired seniors with volunteers, mostly retired teachers, college students, even some tech workers on their days off, who would sit with them one-on-one, no pressure, no tests. They'd start with the basics, turning the device on, making the screen bigger, sending a message. And the best part? Everything was free. The tablet, the lessons, even the internet hotspot. "Free?" the older woman repeated, skeptical. "Nothing's free these days." "Well," her granddaughter said, lowering her voice a little, "someone made it free. A quiet donation. You've probably seen his face. He's that actor who's always giving up his seat on the subway or buying coffee for strangers. Keeps to himself, never asks for thanks." She didn't say the name, but the older woman knew who she meant. She'd seen the videos online. Grainy phone footage of a tall man in a black coat stepping back so a pregnant woman could board first, or handing his sunglasses to a fan without a word. There was something about him, calm, kind, like he carried the weight of the world but never let it make him hard. "He helped start this?" she asked. "Not directly," her granddaughter said, "but his foundation gave the first big gift to get it going. He didn't want his name on it. Said the real work is done by the people showing up, both the teachers and the learners." The older woman looked down at her hands. They were wrinkled, spotted with age, but still strong. She thought about how she used to sew curtains, fix zippers, braid her daughter's hair before school. She wasn't useless. She just hadn't been given a chance to learn something new in a long time. "What if I mess up?" she whispered. "What if you do?" her granddaughter said softly. "Then we'll fix it together. No one's grading you. No one's watching. It's just you, me, and a screen that doesn't care how many times you tap the wrong button." Something in those words loosened the knot in her chest. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about being willing. The next Tuesday, she let her granddaughter drive her to the community center, a low brick building with wide sidewalks and potted plants by the entrance. Inside, it smelled like coffee and old books. A few other seniors were already there, sitting at tables with tablets, some laughing, some frowning in concentration. A man with white hair and round glasses waved them over. "This is David," her granddaughter said. "He used to teach high school history." Now he teaches people how to FaceTime their grandkids. David stood slowly, offering a warm handshake. "Pleasure," he said. His voice was calm, like a slow river. "We go at your pace always." They sat down. David didn't hand her the tablet right away. Instead, he asked about her life, what she liked to do, what worried her, what she hoped to learn. She told him about wanting to see photos of her great-grandniece, about needing to order medicine without standing in line, about how she missed hearing her daughter's voice more than once a week. "Then that's where we start," he said. "Not with passwords or apps, with what matters to you." He turned on the tablet. The screen glowed softly. "This isn't magic," he said. "It's just a tool, like a hammer or a sewing needle. It only does what you tell it to." He showed her how to press the button to wake it up, how to swipe to unlock, how to make the letters bigger with 2 fingers. She fumbled at first, her fingers felt clumsy, too big for the smooth glass, but David never sighed, never rushed her. When she accidentally opened the camera and saw her own startled face staring back, she laughed for the first time in weeks. "That's you," David said, smiling. "Now you can take a picture and send it to your granddaughter. She'll love it." By the end of the hour, she'd sent her first message, not a text, not an email, just a photo of her cat sleeping in a sunbeam, with the words "my roommate" typed slowly, 1 finger at a time. Her granddaughter, waiting in the lobby, got the notification and rushed back in, eyes wide. "You did it," she said, hugging her. "I just pressed buttons," the older woman said, but she was beaming. That night back home, she didn't turn on the TV right away. Instead, she sat with the tablet on her lap, practicing what David had shown her. She opened the photo app and saw the picture she'd taken. She tapped it. It filled the screen, soft light, the cat's fur glowing gold. She imagined her granddaughter seeing it, smiling. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel like a ghost. She didn't know it yet, but she'd just done something rare, something only a tiny fraction of people her age would ever attempt. She'd stepped into the unknown, not because she was brave, but because someone held out a hand and said, "It's okay to try." And in that simple act, she'd begun to rebuild a bridge, not just to technology, but to the people she loved, to a world that hadn't left her behind after all. It was just waiting for her to say yes. Weeks passed, and the Tuesday trips to the community center became the highlight of her routine. She'd wake up early, brush her hair a little more carefully, and even put on earrings, small pearl studs her husband had given her on their 20th anniversary. The tablet sat on the kitchen counter now, no longer a strange object to be feared, but something familiar, like the coffee mug she used every morning. At first, everything felt like learning to walk again. Her fingers still moved too slowly, and sometimes she'd tap the wrong icon and end up in a place she didn't recognize. A map of downtown, a weather forecast for Alaska, once even a video of penguins waddling across ice. But David never made her feel foolish. "Mistakes are how we learn," he'd say, showing her how to press the little arrow in the corner to go back. "Even I tap the wrong thing sometimes." Slowly, things began to click. She learned how to open the video call app. The first time her granddaughter's face filled the screen, live, smiling, waving, she gasped. "You're right there," she said, as if her granddaughter had magically appeared in the room. They talked for 20 minutes, longer than their usual Sunday phone calls. She saw the new haircut, the bookshelf in the background, even the family dog jumping into frame. It wasn't the same as holding her hand, but it was closer than a voice on a wire. Then came the day David showed her how to order her blood pressure medicine online. She watched as he guided her through the pharmacy website, selecting her prescription, choosing home delivery, entering her insurance info. She held her breath when it asked for her card number, but David stayed calm. "We'll do it together," he said. "And I'll show you how to spot fake sites so you never get tricked." After she placed the order, a confirmation popped up. "Your medicine will arrive in 2 to 3 days." She stared at those words, stunned. No bus ride. No waiting in line behind someone arguing about coupons. No standing on aching feet while the pharmacist called her name. Just done. From her kitchen table. That night she couldn't sleep. Not from worry, from wonder. She kept thinking about all the things she'd missed out on simply because she didn't know how to use a screen. Birthday messages from cousins. Recipes shared in family group chats. Even the local library's online book club, which she'd heard about but assumed was only for computer people. The next session, she asked David, "Can I join a book club?" Online? He smiled. Absolutely. There's one just for folks over 70. They read short stories and talk about them on video once a week. She hesitated. What if I say something silly? What if you say something wise? He replied. They're not looking for perfect answers. They're looking for real ones, so she joined. The first meeting, she kept her camera off, listening as others discussed a story about an old fisherman who talked to the sea. Their voices were warm, a little shaky sometimes, full of life. One woman laughed about forgetting the main character's name. Another admitted she cried at the end. No one judged. No one rushed. It felt like sitting on a porch with friends, only the porch was made of pixels. By the third meeting, she turned her camera on. I'm new, she said simply, but I liked the part where he let the big fish go. Sometimes holding on hurts more than letting go. There was a quiet pause. Then someone said, That's beautiful. And just like that, she belonged. One rainy afternoon, while practicing on her own, she stumbled upon a video someone had shared in the book club chat. It was old, grainy, shot on a phone, but it showed a tall man in a dark coat on a subway platform. A pregnant woman walked by looking tired. Without a word, he stepped back, gestured to his seat, and stood quietly as she sat down. The video had no sound, but you could see the gratitude in her eyes. Comments below called him the kindest man alive. She watched it 3 times. There was no fanfare, no camera crew, no speech. Just a simple act of seeing someone and choosing to make their day a little easier. It reminded her of her husband, how he'd always carry extra change for parking meters or give his sandwich to a stray dog. She showed the video to David the next week. Is this the man who helped start our program? She asked. David nodded. That's him. He doesn't do interviews, doesn't post about his good deeds, but he's been quietly supporting causes like ours for years, especially ones that help older folks feel seen. She thought about that all the way home. It wasn't about fame or thanks. It was about showing up, about believing that everyone, no matter their age, deserves a chance to connect, to learn, to matter. A few days later, she did something bold. She opened the messaging app and typed a note to her daughter. Can we video call this Sunday? I want to see your face. She hit send before she could change her mind. Her daughter called the next morning, voice thick with emotion. Of course, Mom, I've been hoping you'd ask. That Sunday, they talked for nearly an hour. She saw her daughter's garden, met the new puppy, even got a tour of the kitchen after a baking disaster involving burnt cookies. They laughed like they used to when she was a little girl. And when the call ended, she didn't feel the usual ache of loneliness. She felt full. She started helping others at the center, too. When a new man came in, nervous, hands trembling, she sat beside him. I was just like you 2 months ago, she said. Let me show you how to make the letters bigger. She didn't know all the answers, but she knew how it felt to be lost. And sometimes that was enough. One evening, as she watered her cactus, now thriving thanks to a reminder app she'd set, she realized something. She wasn't just learning to use a tablet. She was learning to trust herself again, to believe that she could adapt, that she still had something to give. The world hadn't left her behind. She just needed a little help finding the door back in. And now that she was through it, she wanted to hold it open for others. By the time autumn rolled in, the community center had started to feel like a second home. The same worn chairs, the smell of coffee brewing in the back, the soft hum of tablets powering on. These things had become comforting, familiar. But something had shifted. She wasn't just coming to learn anymore. She was coming to help. It started small. One Tuesday, a new participant, a man in his early 80s with thick glasses and shaky hands, sat frozen in front of his tablet, eyes wide with panic. I think I broke it, he whispered. It's all black. She recognized that fear instantly. Without thinking, she walked over. Let me see, she said gently. She pressed the side button once. The screen lit up. His face relaxed like a storm had passed. Oh, he said, almost laughing. That's all it needed? Yep, she said. Happens to the best of us, David noticed. A week later, he asked if she'd be willing to sit with newcomers during the first few sessions, just to offer a calm voice, a familiar face. You've come so far, he said, and people trust you. That matters more than knowing every button. She agreed, though her stomach fluttered with nerves. She wasn't a teacher. She was just someone who'd been lost and found her way. But maybe that was exactly what others needed. Her first student was a woman who hadn't used a computer since the 1990s. She'd brought her own notepad, writing down every step like it was a recipe. "Show me again how to get back to the pictures?" she'd ask, pen hovering. So she did, slowly, patiently, just as David had done for her. And when the woman finally opened her photo album and saw a picture of her late husband smiling on a fishing trip, tears welled up. "I forgot I had this," she said softly. "Thank you." That moment stayed with her. It wasn't about technology. It was about memory, connection, dignity. Word spread quietly. More seniors began signing up for the program, not just for the free tablet, but because that kind lady was there. She never corrected anyone who called her teacher. She just made tea, pulled up a chair, and said, "Let's figure this out together." Meanwhile, the program itself was growing. Flyers appeared at senior centers, libraries, even grocery stores. A local news station did a short piece. No fancy graphics, just real people in the center laughing over video calls with grandkids. The reporter mentioned that the initiative had started with a quiet donation from a well-known actor who believed older adults deserved to stay connected. He hadn't asked for credit. In fact, when asked for a comment, his team simply said, "The real story is the people showing up." Nationally, researchers began taking notice. A report released in late 2025 showed a troubling trend. Fewer than 1% of Americans over 75 had completed any formal digital literacy training. Yet among those who had, especially in programs like this one, the benefits were clear. Rates of loneliness dropped. Missed medical appointments fell by nearly half. People felt more confident managing bills, spotting scams, even ordering groceries. But the numbers didn't tell the whole story. They didn't capture the man who video called his daughter in Japan for the first time in 3 years. Or the woman who joined an online choir and sang Christmas carols with strangers who became friends. Or the quiet pride in someone's eyes when they sent their first email. Just 3 words. "I miss you." She saw it all. And she knew she was part of that rare 1%. Not because she was special, but because someone had believed in her enough to try. One afternoon, a new volunteer arrived, a retired engineer who'd moved to town after his wife passed. He was sharp with technology, but shy with people. She paired him with Mr. Chen, a soft-spoken man in his 80s who missed his family in Taiwan. At first, they struggled. The engineer spoke too fast. Mr. Chen nodded politely but didn't understand. She watched for a while, then stepped in. "Try showing him, not telling him," she suggested. "And go slower than you think you need to." The engineer took a breath. He picked up his own tablet, mirrored Mr. Chen's screen, and tapped each icon as he named it. "This is WeChat. This is your son's name. This is the video button." Mr. Chen's eyes lit up. Within 20 minutes, he was waving at his grandson in Taipei, the boy grinning and holding up a drawing. Afterward, the engineer turned to her, humbled. "I forgot how much courage this takes." She just nodded. "It's not about the tech. It's about the heart." As 2025 turned into its final months, the center hosted a small gathering, just cookies, coffee, and a slideshow of moments. Seniors on video calls, group photos, screenshots of first messages. No speeches, no awards. Just celebration. She stood near the back, watching. A woman she'd helped just weeks ago came over, holding her tablet like it was a treasure. "I showed my great-granddaughter how to draw on this today," she said, beaming. "She made me a flower. Said it was for me." That night back home, she opened her own photo app. She scrolled past the cat pictures, the book club screenshots, the video call stills, and stopped at one she'd saved months ago. It was a screenshot of that old subway video, the quiet man giving up his seat. She'd kept it not because of who he was, but because of what he represented. Kindness without expectation. Help without fanfare. She realized then that the program wasn't really about tablets or Wi-Fi. It was about restoring something many seniors had lost, the feeling that they still mattered, that they could learn, that they could give, not just receive. And she was living proof. She wasn't just connected to the internet now. She was connected to people, to purpose, to a future that still had room for her. As she turned off the lamp that night, the house didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt like a place where something good was growing, quietly, steadily, like her cactus finally blooming after years of waiting. And she knew, deep in her bones, that she was exactly where she was meant to be.